LaMarcus Aldridge was one of the most effective power forwards in the league during his tenure with the Portland Trail Blazers, and many expected him to immediately take the San Antonio Spurs back to championship contention when he joined them in 2015. But his first 2 seasons under Greg Popovich saw a slight drop in production and intensity, which was even more noticeable last year. But without Kawhi Leonard to start this season, the Spurs have turned to Aldridge as the heavily relied upon primary option, and he has returned to form in a huge way. He has led this team to a 15-7 record whilst averaging 23 points and 8 rebounds a game on the best shooting of his career. This video will cover his entire history as a player, what led to the slump in his first 2 years with the Spurs, and then finally what has led to this incredible resurgence to form for LaMarcus. Like many other players I've recently covered, LaMarcus is from Texas, and it was here that he would go to both high school and college, choosing to attend the University of Texas for 2 years instead of jumping straight to the pros from high school. Aldridge strongly considered making the leap like many other talented high schoolers at the time, but Shaquille O'Neal advised that he go to college to develop his game, raise his draft stock, and give him more options and control later on. Aldridge would impress strongly in his second season in Texas and averaged 15 points a game and 9 rebounds, whilst showing the beginnings of a great post game and a soft touch from both outside and inside the paint. The Chicago Bulls would draft him second overall as a result, and then in incredibly bizarre circumstances they would trade him to the Blazers for the 4th pick, Tyrese Thomas, and a role player who would be out of the league just 2 years later. This trade has always seemed exceptionally bizarre to me, as if the Bulls were so high on Thomas, why not just take him second? But no matter what the reason for trading him was, Aldridge would arrive to a Portland team alongside Brandon Roy, and begin the rebuild that was so sorely required after the bad rep acquired from the Jailblazers era. Aldridge would start in a bench role in his first season, and impressed with good shooting and effort in his limited minutes. But when the starting center went down in February, LaMarcus would enter the starting lineup and go on to average 14.7 points and 8 rebounds a game for the month of March, winning him the Rookie of the Month award and putting the league on notice as to how high his enormous potential truly was. In his second season, LMA would make the jump to being a fantastic option for the Blazers team and one of the best young power forwards in the league. He would average 17.8 points a game and bring down 7.6 rebounds, and would repeat these numbers for the next 2 seasons. But many had expected him to make more leaps in his game each year, and this would eventually happen in the 2010-2011 NBA season, when Aldridge would make yet another leap to 21.8 points and 8.8 rebounds a game on the best shooting splits he had ever posted. As a result, he would finish top 3 in the voting for the Most Improved Player award for the second time in his career, as well as being voted onto the All-NBA third team for the first time in his career. And then, in the 2013-2014 NBA season, Aldridge truly arrived. Damian Lillard had established himself as one of the best young point guards in the league, and the two had a great chemistry and helped elevate each other's games. Up until this point, LMA hadn't had any truly great teammates when he was in his prime. Brandon Roy had been amazing early on, but when Aldridge had fully developed as a player, Roy was struck down by brutal knee injuries and the two hardly saw the court together when they were both at that peak. Alongside Lillard, LaMarcus would average 23.2 points, 11.1 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 1 steal and 1 block per game. He was absolutely dominant in this season, and would help lead the Blazers back to the playoffs for the first time in 3 seasons. They were paired up against another fantastic big man and guard duo in James Harden and Dwight Howard, and most predicted the Rockets to take the series quite comfortably over Aldridge and Dame. Well, Aldridge had different ideas, and with the first 2 games being in Houston, he exploded offensively, proving far too much to handle for Terrence Jones or Dwight Howard. He would drop a Blazer-high 46 points in the playoffs on Houston in the first game, to go along with his 18 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and only had 3 turnovers in doing so, in what was easily the best game of his career so far. To top this virtuoso performance off, LaMarcus would go on to score 43 points in the next game on even more efficient shooting, as the Blazers stole the first 2 games of the series and took control of the series from Houston. Houston would put up a fight and win 2 more games in this series, but behind Aldridge's 30 points and Damian Lillard's incredibly clutch 3-point buzzer beater to win the series, the Blazers would advance to the second round of the playoffs for the first time in LMA's young career. Here they would get crushed by the eventual champions, the San Antonio Spurs, but many saw them as a team that would be in contention at some point in the near future. But it would never eventuate, as the Blazers lost to the Grizzlies in the first round of the playoffs the next year, and LaMarcus entered unrestricted free agency for the first time in his career. And with the ability to go anywhere in the league, LaMarcus chose to sign with San Antonio and Greg Popovich, after a pitch that explained the Spurs' plan for him to take over the reins of the team from the soon-to-be-retired Tim Duncan. With Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker all in Spurs uniform for just one season together, San Antonio would go on to win an incredible 67 games and post one of the best defenses that the NBA had ever seen in Aldridge's first season with the Spurs. Many predicted them to be the best chance at stopping the Warriors from going back-to-back as champions in that season. But OKC would shock them behind the incredible play from Westbrook, Durant, and the surprise play of big man Enes Kanter, as the Spurs lost to the Thunder in 6 games. Following this series defeat, Tim Duncan would retire, and most expected LaMarcus to return back to near his Portland numbers now that Duncan was no longer in the grey and black. Instead, Aldridge would have his worst season since 2011, and dropped in statistical categories across the board, all whilst playing 3 more minutes a game. Whilst the rest of the league wondered out loud if Aldridge could ever be the same player, the Spurs showed faith, and in the past offseason they renegotiated his deal so that he would be a Spur till 2020, with a partially guaranteed deal for the following season as well. Many pundits had predicted that the Spurs and Aldridge may split after an unfruitful relationship so far, but they both showed their commitment to each other, and Aldridge was to be the centre of the offense with Kawhi Leonard out to start this season. And being thrust back into the limelight with the most touches he has received during his time in San Antonio has resulted in a renaissance for LaMarcus, as he's having his best season of his career thus far. Aldridge has been simply incredible to start this season, and has led the Spurs to the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, all without Kawhi Leonard playing a single game, and Tony Parker only recently returning from his injury. Greg Popovich came out to start this season and said that LaMarcus had approached him before the beginning of the year and spoke about his concerns about not getting enough touches or being allowed to play his natural game for the Spurs over the past 2 seasons. This was an incredibly courageous decision from LaMarcus, as Pop is one of the most respected coaches in the league and buying into his system is a must. But Pop agreed with him, and even admitted to the error of his ways, and promised to get Aldridge the looks and touches that suited him over the course of the following season. And as a result, Aldridge has looked passionate once again on the court, a contrast from the criticism that plagued him the last 2 seasons, as many said he looked passive and uninterested for stretches of both games and the season. I wouldn't be surprised if this passion came partly from the vote of confidence from Pop in that conversation, as well as being featured once again as the number 1 option on a great NBA team. The Spurs are making it their mission to get Aldridge the ball in all kinds of areas. He's posting up on his favourite right block frequently and has permission to shoot fadeaways, face-ups, or drive to the basket, essentially playing his natural game and taking whatever shot he likes. They have also incorporated a lot of pick and roll action with Aldridge, where he helps break down the defense for the point guard with the gravity he provides by setting a screen. And he has done a fantastic job of fading and rolling at times, as well as knowing when to pass the ball out and let the Spurs' great passing and ball movement kick into gear to get a great shot. As a result of this ball movement and offense designed around Aldridge, he is shooting the best true shooting percentage of his career. He's averaging 23 points and 8 rebounds, and is dominating advanced statistic categories as well. Aldridge is on pace to record the most win shares of his career, his highest value over replacement player, and his best box plus minus. All of this indicates that he is truly having one of the best starts to a season for him in his entire career. And if he continues it, it will likely be the best season he has ever had, in a Spurs or Portland jersey. Plus, with the return of Tony Parker, Aldridge finally has himself a point guard who is also a master of the pick and roll in this season. And both of them have said that they absolutely love playing together and getting each other great looks. So it comes as no surprise to me that LMA has had his 2 best games of 33 and 41 points this season in the first 2 games that Parker played. But can he continue this fantastic level of production? If Kawhi Leonard never returned, I would be confident in saying that he could. Aldridge has a huge history and body of work in putting in great seasons at this level, and has proven that he can maintain it for an entire year and the playoffs. But when Kawhi finally does return, Aldridge will likely lose 1 or 2 touches. But I can see most of the touches that Leonard gets coming from players like Danny Green, Pau Gasol, Kyle Anderson, and some of the other bench players. Pop could really allow both of his stars to have their 16 to 20 looks a game and still having the ball move to his liking. Plus, Leonard will take some of the pressure off of Aldridge, and the two could help each other generate fantastic looks. Alongside this, Leonard is an amazing defender and will help lift the Spurs' defenses to yet another level. And Aldridge will likely have the energy to return to being the fantastic defender that he is. His defense has been good this season, but due to the higher offensive load, I have noticed a slight drop-off at times from his fantastic defense. With Leonard's return, I think LMA will be able to conserve his energy on the offensive end and bring his fantastic defense back to that side of the court. And then the Spurs should really assert themselves as one of the best two-way teams in the NBA, a theme that has been recurring for the last 20 years. And under Pop, Kawhi, and this reinvigorated Aldridge could continue for a few more. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA videos in the future. And let me know what you think about the Spurs and Aldridge in the comment section below.